I wanted to talk to you for a second, because I have to say, in my lifetime, I have never seen so much propaganda. Well, of course, we're living in the age of big tech, so there's corporate overloads, now that are, really. So 22 corporations own most of the Western media. So that's very narrow, 22. That's not very many. And so they're really siphoning it. So you see American oligarchs really taking control of the information, and you see that weapons manufacturers are making a lot of money. In fact, one of them close to $1 trillion is Raytheon, right? Okay, in this time. So war, there's an incentive, right, to make weapons and not peace. And so you've seen America, I'm sure as a diplomat, you've watched Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, you've watched the imperialism in South America and the coups. So as you watch this escalation and you hear the US president talk about the possibility of nuclear war, as a diplomat, and you're being silenced kind of by the Western media, what do you think would be a good way to push through this so that regular people, regular American citizens like myself and my audience listening right now, can really hear what Russia has to say, and not, because many of us know that Russia is not the enemy, China is not the enemy. We know that there's a little small elite group that are making a lot of money. And in my personal opinion, and I'm not saying this is yours, so this is my personal opinion. My personal opinion is that this is the biggest money laundering scheme in history. And I think years from now, we'll see there's another $50 billion that they're going to send to Ukraine on the table, besides the close to 80 billion that's almost gone. And no one knows where that money is, and no accounting is being done. And the American infrastructure is falling apart. We have 550,000 people that are homeless in this country, 70,000 homeless in LA. Inflation is the highest it's been in 40 years. Our economy is tanking under the Biden administration. So these are my opinions, but anyone who voices them gets shut down as a Russian propagandist. I lived on a farm in Wisconsin. Okay, I'm from California. This is my opinion, watching and analyzing, because I have a law degree and studied political science and international relations. This is my opinion. This is the opinion shared by many Americans, but we feel we have no voice. There's this war happening by America and NATO, and we never even had citizen consent for it, right? So
this is very deplorable.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about that? I mean, for like moving forward with diplomacy, what can be done to de-escalate this very dangerous moment, the most dangerous moment for humanity right now? Like what can we do?
Well, my personal opinion is that it's really a personal choice, because at our age, with internet, with all these sources of information, it depends on you where you take them. And it's not again at Soviet age, when there were absolutely no alternative sources of information apart from shortwave radios of very, very lousy quality and with technical problems. But it's up to you. You can just consume whatever is being downloaded to you from mass media, or you can search for yourself. Still have social media. We consider that our work at the Security Council is especially very important, because this is one of the few rostrums which is still not censored, and they have to relay everything that we say, and it remains in the protocols in the procès-verbals of the meetings, so it's accessible for wider public. It depends on whether you need it or not, whether you have the benefit of the doubt or not, whether you consume everything or not. So I don't think that there should be certain decision somewhere that this situation will change all of a sudden. It will not change all of a sudden. It depends on the consumers. It depends on those who are needing this information. If there is a demand for more sources of information, if people would say that I want to watch RT because I really need alternative source of information, I don't think that there will be big resistance if many people demand some kind of changes here. And well, this information is abundant. Sometimes it's very difficult to distinguish between real propaganda, between manipulations, and this kind of information. But you just need to have many sources of information. I think they are still available. at nowadays, and you really can do it easily.
So I mentioned the I know we're coming up to the time where you say you have to leave, but if you can stay a couple more minutes, it's up to you.
I will.
Okay.
I will.
Okay. So we're at this dangerous point in history. I think it's unprecedented, right? It's since 1962 we haven't, and so your position is so important. So ways that citizens can get your voice heard, like for instance, my show, of course, RT you can find on Rumble. You can find this show on Rumble, we're live right now, and alternative platforms. But beyond, like, are you seeing, like, for instance, I've heard Claire Daly and Mick Wallace of from Ireland of the UN speak very passionately against this proxy war that US
they're
and
European Parliament, if
European Parliament, yes, and they're speaking very
yeah,
passionately.
they're very brave. Yeah, very brave.
Yeah. So are you finding any of that within your colleagues from other places that don't have a monetary interest, but would actually be harmed by all of this, as we all will, but like don't have any monetary interest, right? In the weapons manufacturing. So is there any hope like that we can move past this point of we're at a point of almost no return? Like what are your thoughts? Where are we going?
It's very challenging time. It's very challenging time. I wouldn't conceal. And the fact is that a lot of people just don't realize how dangerous it is, because it all seems like in the movies somewhere that doesn't concern you. But the fact is that you're absolutely right. We face NATO in Ukraine. This is a proxy war, and there is a very, very thin red line there. Some people are very keen to cross this red line, like the United Kingdom, for example. Today we summoned ambassador of United Kingdom in Moscow. We presented the proofs on British participation in attacks on the Black Sea Fleet in Sebastopol. There are also indications that the Brits are involved in the blowing of Nord Stream pipelines. So this is already crossing this very thin red line, because these are attacks on critical infrastructure. So what next? If NATO is getting involved, we have also very few doubts that the Ukrainian leadership would do whatever it can, or whatever provocation is necessary to get NATO involved, because this is evolved directly. I mean, because this is their only hope for survival. They understand that militarily they can't stand Russia, of course. They understand that at some point of time, people in Ukraine will get their own opinion on what's really happening in the country and who is to blame. And it's not Russia. It's Ukrainian internal politics that brought the country to this dead end where it is right now. So for them, the only way out is to get NATO involved, and what would help is kind of very big provocation. We were warning, for example, the Security Council about the dirty bomb. This is one of the scenarios, and our warnings, I think, worked, and Ukrainians had to change plans, but they still have a lot of opportunities to try to get NATO involved, and this is really very, very important and very dangerous, because then some things may happen according to some uncontrollable spiral, and nobody is interested in such a development. So of course diplomacy should work, but diplomacy means talking and mostly listening. So we hope that still the leaders of Western countries will take their responsibility and will engage with us, with the others, to work on the way forward, because we were saying that we need serious discussion on European security, on how the world will survive this time, and these demands were rejected. They were looking at it in a very condescending way, saying that it's not serious, it's Russian propaganda, there is no need for this. And even now, unfortunately, I heard, for example, if I'm not mistaken, the German foreign minister saying that we need to establish a European security system against Russia. So it means that Russia is not involved, and this is a terrible mistake,
Yeah.
Because if we want to have to get out of this, everybody, then we need to think about something collective, something which embraces the interests of everybody. But if we are thinking in this East against West schemes, then I think we don't have anything good in front of us. There will be more problems. Hopefully, they will not lead to the war. But this is the kind of mentality that is not helpful. And I hope that the mentality, the open-minded people will prevail, that they will understand that this is not of all of a sudden that we found ourselves where we are, and that there should be very well, it should be thinking out of the box. So people should really think about some schemes, some formats that would accommodate interests of everybody, including Russia, and maybe first and foremost Russia, because our interests were neglected by a lot of Western countries for many, many years, which led to this crisis, which is not Russia-Ukraine crisis. It's a bigger crisis. It's a crisis of trust. It's a crisis of visions. It's multifaceted thing, and it's not. We don't have time to discuss it in detail. But this is really important. This is really big.